Come on now. Let me know if you can hear me now, everybody. How's the audio there, Big D? You got me now? Someone give me a good thumbs up that we're good. Good. Thank you. I actually didn't plug in the mic today. Now I plugged in the mic. Got a lot on my mind today. All right, Clay, we got who do you got tonight? Mendoza or Moore? Tomorrow night. Yeah. The break show. All the positive energy. The guys love to compete. Like passion, which is seems black ain't just sound 25. I'm loving it, man. They're making my job tremendously easy to be out here with these young, talented players, man. I think we have a really good team. So I'm super excited. I'm already loving this fan base. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And now, here's JT Ray. Out of the gate, JT with you. We get rolling today on the flagship of the Silver and Black all over the world on YouTube. We are live on X. Just go to JT the Brick on those platforms and watch the show if you want to watch. If not, watch it on demand, which more and more people are doing. Thanks to all of our proud partners here, as we got a busy show today. I only booked 2 guests. We usually have 2 or 3 guests to show. Today we got Hall of Famer Rod Woodson at the bottom of the hour. I did my podcast with him last night, Lay in the Wood with Rod Woodson. So we spent a couple hours together yesterday, and we want to get him on today because he knows John Harbaugh better than anybody in the media. Better than anybody in the media, Rod Woodson knows John Harbaugh because he's the analyst on the Ravens radio network. He's also one of the top 4 to 5 Steelers to ever play, including Joe Green, Jack Lambert. It's Rod Woodson, and Rod was a great Raider, and he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and I'm proud to call him a friend. So Rod Woodson at the bottom of the hour, and the top of next hour, Jesse Merrick, who does a great job covering the Raiders and Vegas sports here. What I want to do today is hear from the Raider Nation on who should be the next coach because we got to get moving. I talked to Clay about this. Clay, I mentioned this to you. You do a morning show, and then you come in here and you help us out, and you told me it's go time. We got to go now because this thing could happen at the AFC Championship game. It could happen the week of the Super Bowl, or it could happen earlier if Tom Brady and Spytek hit on someone and they want them and they go through and they dot the I's and cross the T's. This could happen sooner than later, so we got to get going here.
Yeah, you got to get going. You got to move. You got to make moves. And at the same time, continue to take the names in and interview process of guys that you were interested in. You want to pick their brain, but you also want to see, all right, are they going to be in agreement with us, or are they going to be in contradictions? And what are those contradictions about? I want to learn more about the interviewers and the interviewees that are coming in.
Absolutely. I am all for interviewing more people than you should. I'm a big believer in that everywhere in life. And that's the focus of the monologue, as we're brought to you by Golden Entertainment, proud owner of PTs. They fuel the monologue. 5 to 7, midnight to 2. PTs gets us going here every day. Proud partner of our show here. My longest tenured partner here is Golden Entertainment and PTs and everything they do for us. So the key is, what this comes down to is interview whoever you want. Get a lot of people in here. Bring a lot of Broncos guys in, which we are. Bring some Charger guys in. Bring some guys from the Chiefs in. Remember, I always said bring in Eric Bieniemy and copy his playbook. Take his playbook that he has from Andy Reid and take it over to the video copy machine and just copy it and call the plays that Andy Reid calls in Kansas City. I'm a really simple guy. I would run every play that Andy Reid runs, every play for the last 5 years, and that would be my game plan. I copy it. I copied in school. I did, but back in the day, you were allowed to copy in school. Now people have meta glasses and they have AI when they get their homework. Back in the day, you really had to look over someone's shoulder to see what they had on their test. I just say copy Andy Reid. Every play that Andy Reid ran to Travis Kelce, excuse me, we're not running that same play to Brock Bowers? Wait. Every play Josh McDaniels ran to Gronkowski, we're not running that exact play to Brock Bowers? What are we doing? Do that. So if you bring in Kevin Stefanski today, and Kevin Stefanski is a really sharp guy. I just talked to Vinny in the hallway about it. I'm not a huge Stefanski guy in regards to hiring the coach that just got fired from Cleveland. That doesn't kind of fit for me, but it could, because Stefanski could be the best candidate after they interview all the candidates.
That was vintage Al Davis back in the day. Al Davis brought Steve Sarkisian up for an interview. Oh, there's Lane Kiffin. Wait a second, Lane, you go on the whiteboard. Well, Lane was more impressive than Steve. Lane got the job. Not that it worked out, but the concept is bring people into the building. Al Davis, it could have been Sean Payton. You ever hear the stories about Sean Payton and John Gruden being in Alameda in front of Mr. Davis on the whiteboard? We're talking 4-hour sessions. And then they deliver some McDonald's, and they'd eat a little McDonald's, and then they go for another 4 hours. And then Al would wake them up and bring them back in. They go for another 6 hours. That's what we got to do. We got to get people in front of Tom Brady who are sharp, and Brady's really sharp, and then they connect with Spy Tech and go, wow, we didn't know that you were that good on the whiteboard. You were that good, and we're going to hire you. Now, you got to be careful around here, because a lot of people we hired in the past, we thought were going to be good, and we ended up firing them pretty quickly. Don't want to do that again. But we understand what's going on now. This is John Spytek and Tom Brady, and they are going to vet as many people as they can. They're doing it now. I don't know how Tom Brady does this via Zoom, in the building, preparing for a Fox broadcast, being on the road for Fox. I have no information on that, nor do I want to have that information. I don't need it. I don't care. Tom Brady's involved. They're not doing anything without Tom Brady. So that's what's going to happen here. And everybody's going to sit around and figure out who the best coach is. That's all this is who do you think is the best? But the problem for us, mostly you, the listener, who are great, you don't like the decisions. You always are criticizing, not all of you guys, but many people are just going to criticize just to criticize. You're just going to say no because you've been saying no now for years. So it's part of your reflex system is to say no. Well, we got Pete Carroll. He's the Hall of Famer. No. He's too old. Well, we got Josh McDaniels. He called every play for 6. No. He's a Patriot. Well, we got Antonio Pierce. No. He's never coached before. I would know. I'm on the front line of the Raider Nation. We actually take live phone calls. We actually do the show from the torch. We talk to people. So you've all said no to everybody. Now I got people going, yeah, Kirk Cignetti from Indiana. Okay. You want to go there? Oh, go get John Harbaugh. You think John Harbaugh is going to want to answer to a young GM? Maybe he does. I would doubt it, but maybe he does. I don't know. Bring in John Harbaugh if you can. Whatever you're going to do. But we got to come together on this one. We're trying to come together and not be divisive, right? Even some people think I'm divisive, Clay. I've been bringing people together for 30 years on Raider Radio. Yeah, some days are better than others. I can get a little gnarly and a little grumpy, but I'm trying to do something for you. I'm trying to give you a forum and get your opinion out there. So I don't think the Raiders are going to hire a head coach by Friday for a number of reasons. And that would be Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak, to me, is probably the best choice. Probably for me right now. That could change. So when you clip this and you put it up on a website, JT the Brick says Clint Kubiak is his number one choice. Yes, you can run with that. I think that's the type of guy I would want. Someone who you can compare to a Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, someone, his dad, I have a lot of respect for. Did everybody watch the Elway documentary? Did everybody watch that? Go watch it. Gary Kubiak, John Elway. John Elway did a pretty good job as a GM, didn't he? He got Peyton Manning to go. He won a Super Bowl. John Elway won two Super Bowls as a quarterback, played in 5. He lost 3. And he won a Super Bowl as a GM, right? You look at that. So when you think of Webb, they interviewed Davis Webb. He could be the new hot name out there, right? No experience at all as a coach. None. Other than kind of being a quarterback whisperer. But that to me would be much more of a reach, but you never know. But Kubiak seems to be that type of guy now. But people are going to argue that. The same people who argued at Pete being 73 when he got hired are going to argue some guy in their 30s. They're just going to do that. It's a natural cause of what people do in this era of debate. If John Harbaugh comes here, you all would know that he'd want a lot of control, correct? You all aware of that? Or you're going to just forget that one too? Well, who has the control now? Did you all read the Mark Davis statement? Who has the control? Tom Brady and John Spytek. Well, John Harbaugh wants all the you would presume, wants most of the power. Most of the power. He's John Harbaugh. So where do you want to slot that in? Could it happen? Could John Spytek have a great meeting with John Harbaugh? And then them going, oh, my God, I love you. Let's do this. Yeah, that could happen. Then the Raiders would be paying $70 million in coaches. The 50 already owed to the former coaches and about $20 million for the new guy. Right? So there's a lot of names being thrown out there. I'll tell you another thing, too. You might have heard Brandon Cristal, my buddy, was on with Q yesterday. Vance Joseph is a hell of a candidate. He might not be as sexy as you like. Everybody wants to hire Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator for Denver, who would come in as a big culture play. And then I don't mean everybody in the Raider Nation. I mean everybody around the NFL loves this guy. He's more than hot. Vance Joseph, I think, has got 7 interviews lined up. 7. And everybody wants him, but he'd be a defensive head coach. And that's what I want to hear from Raider Nation today. Do you want an offensive head coach? Do you want a defensive head coach? Do you want a seasoned veteran? Or do you want a younger guy who's got to prove it? That's the topic. We need to hear from you right now. We can't wait much longer, man. This thing's go time. I like to go fast. 702-365-9200 from all over the Raider Nation, East Coasters, Midwesters, Denver, wherever you are. What do you want? Who do you want specifically? Because this has been a complex process for us on the flagship radio station. We, on the radio station that's partnered with the team, have different rules. We don't trash the coach, the owner. We respect everybody. So we're here. We're at this level. We're not better than anybody, but we are connected through a business model with the team. So we have a little bit of different rules than when I podcast. But I think this topic works for everybody. Everybody it works for. Because everybody wants to get this coach right. And I would like to get this coach right. I think it's really important. So we get Ole Miss Miami tonight, and then tomorrow we get Cignetti, Fernando Mendoza, and Dante Moore. That's going to be a really big deal, everybody. The 2 quarterbacks who can go number 1 and 2. The Raiders probably are going to get a quarterback. I hope they do. I hope they get a quarterback. I'm not into trading back. I'm not into all that. Just go get the quarterback. We were so bad. We were so bad. We were rewarded a quarterback. Don't overthink it. Go get the quarterback. Well, they play against each other tomorrow night. And that's the Raider Bowl, as I'm calling it. The Raider Bowl. The Raiders didn't make the playoffs, but the Raiders do have a bowl game. It's Mendoza versus Moore Friday night. They're going to play against each other. Unless something stupid happens, like 3 pick sixes or something nuts, I'm just going to let it play out. I'm not telling you who I like better than you. I don't know both of these guys. Either do you. No one watched Indiana football. 90% of my audience didn't know Mendoza went to Cal. Played at California, Berkeley. And more, if he walked in the studio, you couldn't point him out. So none of us know much about these guys. But you know who might? Kevin Stefanski. I think he was busy coaching Cleveland and coaching Myles Garrett and all those guys, but maybe he knows a little bit. Maybe Stefanski is in the building now telling Spytek, hey, man, I don't know if you're going to hire me, but I love Mendoza more than Moore. I love Moore more than Mendoza. That's why you speak to all these guys. Try to figure out what they like. You figure out what they want. So for Mendoza and Moore, that's tomorrow night. I think that's really important. That's going to get a very high, Clay, that's going to get a very high Raider rating. You know, Clay, they have Nielsen and ratings, right? With the ratings back east in the Raider Nation, that's going to get a very high rating.
Yeah, it'll be a 70% market share in Oakland and LA. It'll be great.
Yeah, it's going to do very well, that game here. And we'll figure out who you want to get there. Again, I like Mendoza. I love Ashton Genty. I love Brock Bowers. Max Crosby had a little nip tuck. You saw him. He went to the Clipper game to see his buddy James Harden, brought his wife Rachel. Then he went and had a little surgery. He's all good. I got the text. We're all good. He's ready to go. 200%, not 100%. So Max is going to be perfect. So for those crying and complaining, why was Max benched? Max was under anesthesia the other day. Max had a surgery where they knocked him out. And you're wondering why he was on the sideline? He could have played through that if the Raiders were in the playoffs. The Raiders were not in the playoffs. Man, I want to talk about a topic that was blown out of proportion. Oh, my Lord. Oh, baby Jesus. Was that blown out of proportion? God, thank God we don't do topics that are blown out of proportion. Why is Max not active? Max just had surgery yesterday in LA, everybody. That's why he wasn't active. He could have played through that if they were in the playoffs. He could have. If that game was an elimination game, Max would have been out there. Max is now all buttoned up, ready to go. And I'm sure we're going to have days here coming in where the big topic on NFL Network and Get Up and all these other shows are going to be, should the Raiders trade Max? And you know where I stand with that. I'll say it again. Under no circumstance would I trade Max Crosby. I would not trade Max Crosby unless the offer was so stupid and ridiculous that Max told you it was okay. If it was that dumb, you're not going to get 3 first-round picks for a defensive end. Could get 2. Might get 1 or whatever. Whatever the deal is, if it's that crazy, I would entertain the conversation, but I'm pro Max Crosby here, pro Max. We want to keep Max here. Max has got Raiders tattooed all over his body with Kobe Bryant and, Muhammad Ali. Okay, we want Max to stay here if we can. So that's what we got. Rod Woodson at the bottom of the hour. So the breaking news today is Mike McDaniel's out in Miami as the head coach. He is kind of a trippy guy, right? He's kind of a different guy. He's really different. Is he great? I've talked to people in the know. I talk to people who know him and have worked with him and say, stay away from him. And I've talked to other people too that said, no, he'd be really good as a coordinator. So he's available. He's out there and he's available. And I think that as an offensive mind, he wouldn't be a bad offensive coordinator. Chip Kelly had much more experience than Mike McDaniel. Are you kidding me? Put Chip Kelly in a room with Mike McDaniel. Chip Kelly knows much more than Mike McDaniel. Chip Kelly's older, been around the block. Chip Kelly was a head coach, coordinator, national champion, knows more than Mike McDaniel, but some people think that Mike McDaniel is better than Chip Kelly. Is he better than Kevin Stefanski? Is he better than Cliff Kingsbury? If we were both sitting at the bar in Vegas and you had Cliff Kingsbury to your right and Mike McDaniel to your left, who would you hire? I don't know. I don't know who's better. That's John Spytek's job. But those are guys that I think when it comes to offensive, and this team needs an offense. This team needs an offensive reboot like I've never seen before. I'm not just talking my time with the Raiders. I'm talking my life as a football fan. I don't recall an offense that was this bad. I mean, this offense was god-awful. They were so bad on offense, they couldn't run a play. I mean, they couldn't run basic plays. I promise you that the offense is going to have 2 new offensive linemen, 2 new ones, brand new starters, and they're going to have a completely different scheme on how they run their offensive line, how they run the ball, and how they throw it. You know me, I've been calling for 20 years to play faster. No one listens to me, no one. I just say play faster. When was the last time we ever went up tempo? I watch college football. And they run the no huddle in the first 10 minutes. They run the no huddle. Chambliss of Ole Miss ran the no huddle on the first drive. Completion, they ran up to the ball. Oh, my God, they're running the no huddle in the national quarterfinal game. We don't run the no huddle when we're down 10. We're down 14. We're 10 games out of the playoffs. We don't run no huddle. There's going to be someone here that runs no huddle. There's going to be someone here cracking, going, hey, we're going. Opening drive, we're going. Here's 2 plays. Here's 3 plays. I'm calling them in a row. 3 plays, get on the ball. I've been calling for that for 20 years. We don't do it here. Maybe the new guy will do it. We're just going to elevate this team so dramatically this offseason, your head's going to pop. The dramatic changes. And again, when Pete Carroll got hired, I love Pete Carroll. When he got hired. He was the first or second choice. He wasn't the 6th choice. Pete Carroll. I thought Pete Carroll would do things differently. I knew all about his competition. We had the guys on from Seattle, competition, Wednesdays, whatever it was. We knew that was going to be Pete Carroll. But we didn't know the offense would be so bad with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. We had no idea. And Geno Smith came in 4,300 yards, 70% Pro Bowl. Fact, sorry, everybody, he did. You can't scrub that. Even though Geno blocked you online and he erased all his social media, you can't block what Geno did before he came to the Raiders, nor can you block what Jimmy Garoppolo did before he came here with 4 playoff wins. How many other guys we have around here? We had a quarterback for 10 years who didn't win a playoff game. Derek Carr was much better than Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. Garoppolo won 4 playoff games. He came here and he couldn't play. Then we brought Geno Smith in, and Geno Smith had some pretty good numbers. He did. He had some pretty good numbers. Geno Smith was either going to stay in Seattle, come to Las Vegas, or go to another team for about $40 million a year. That was fact. A bunch of teams would have given him $40 million a year. We did. Geno played poorly. Geno played terribly. So you're going to see a completely different offense than Geno Smith, right? So you're going to see a bunch of things change dramatically. And I love dramatic change when it comes to football teams that struggle. So that's where we're going today. We need to know who the coach is going to be as of today. And please remember, everybody, you can change your mind whenever you'd like. Whenever you like. If you think it's John Harbaugh today, I want to hear from you. And if he gets hired by the Giants tomorrow or the Dolphins, you can call back in, please, and say, okay, I was wrong with that. I want to go with my next choice. Please do that, because we're here without a net. You know, we're on a tightrope here. We have no net. So if you fall, you get right back up and we'll put you here again. But we want to see them get this right. And over the next couple of weeks, what I typically would want to do is not this. Typically, when the season, I live by a calendar. I live my life by a calendar. And traditionally, what I would do this week is I'd just be previewing the wild card weekend, right? I'd have guests on. We'd be talking Rams, Carolina. I'd be timeout from the Raiders. Timeout, everybody. I don't want to talk Raiders. No, we're good. No, we have to talk intense Raiders because we don't have a coach and we have the number 1 pick. So that's the offseason, which I think is going to make for really good radio, very opinionated radio. We're going to make some mistakes along the way. We don't try to make mistakes, but when we do, we know we make mistakes. And we want to hear from you on this. So 702-365-9200. If you're at lunch, I understand. If you're not, if you're listening tomorrow on demand, I get it. But we want to hear from some of the sharp Raider fans here who are out here who would like to come in, like Isaac from Fresno, kicking it off today. How are you, Isaac?
Hey, I'm doing great, JT. Like you, man. Hey, I'm a lifelong Raider fan here. And I just think we've been painting over too many years here. And we get surprised when these things kind of happen. We're in a rebuild. We're not going to win 10 games. I just want to see the Raiders not mess up this first round. Don't get too crazy with it. Mendoza's your guy. Take him, and you build around him. Wouldn't even trot him out there. You know, Pat Mahomes didn't start the game until the last game of his rookie year. I would start him. I would put him out there on whatever kind of offensive line. I like the idea of a young coordinator, but whatever it is, we need an identity. Right now, we don't have an identity. Are we an offensive team? Or we back in the day, we had we have Tom Brady here. I would love to have Mendoza there and a Tom Brady over there during training camp and in spring where he's in his ear, he's getting him ready to play. And I think that's the way we can go forward defensive. I wouldn't mind getting a young defensive coordinator with an offensive mind in there. But to me, Brady's the guy. Why don't we run his offense? Like you were saying earlier, when McDaniel left Tom Brady, the offense didn't change. Tom Brady was essentially the offensive coordinator. Why can't we run that? That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that's all. Yeah, I thanks for the call. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I think what Tom Brady's going to do is Tom Brady is going to help fix the offense. Right. I don't think Tom Brady is going to be an expert in the room, but he's going to ask everybody to do their best work. He's going to hold everybody accountable to figure out who the best cornerbacks are. If we upgrade from safety, why? But I think that Tom Brady, everybody should lean on Tom Brady for the concepts of the offense and quarterback and the development of the quarterback. The biggest change that I've seen in football, maybe in 30 years, is the money. That's number one, the money. Okay, Joe Montana made money. Marcus Allen made money. They made pennies compared to guys now who are getting $45 million and $50 million a year. Do you know how much more money Kirk Cousins made than Steve Young? Do you have any concept how much more money Jaden Daniels makes than Dan Marino? So the money is the big deal. But what happens is if you take the number one quarterback overall, you play him. You play him. If you take the quarterback number 9 or number 14 or in the third round, you sit him. So that'll be a topic that we get to when the selection is made in April. If the Raiders take Francisco Mendoza with the number 1 pick, the history shows that he's going to start game 1. Not the history of the Raiders, just the history of the NFL. Cam Ward, look at Cam Ward, right? Look at these guys. They're going to play. And that's okay because the guy's going to get beat up and probably have a lot of mistakes. Again, I refer back to the John Elway documentary on Netflix that I just watched, which was flawed. Didn't show his second wife was a Raiderette. He met his wife at Marcus Allen's golf tournament. They left that out. Just left it out. They left out Wade Phillips as the coach. They just left it out. They left out a lot of stuff. But what I didn't remember about John Elway is when he started under Dan Reeves in his first 7 games. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Remember this year when we watched the Raiders and they threw for like 60 yards in a game and you were like, what the hell's that? That's what Elway was. They benched Elway. Elway sat behind Steve DeBerg. And then DeBerg got hurt. And when DeBerg got hurt, Elway came back in and the rest is history. He was awful. Peyton Manning broke the all-time interception record as a rookie. Peyton Manning, remember his first year? Go back and look at Troy Aikman's first year. They won 1 game. And Clay, if we can double check that, oh, that's why we have the chat. Someone in the chat here. We got 400 people in our chat. Thank you. When it comes to, did Troy Aikman not, I think Dallas won a game their first year, but I don't think Aikman played that game. Someone double check for me if Aikman won a game his rookie year. He either won 1 or no, he wasn't in the game and they only won 1. Troy Aikman, Hall of Famer. So don't crown Mendoza your quarterback just yet because Dante Moore's playing Friday.
They were 1-15.
They were 1-15. And the game that they won is my question. Did Aikman play in the 1 game they won?
You know, it was against Washington.
Yeah, I just want to check that.
You know, it's funny because it makes you feel like, all right, he must have been it. No, Steve Walsh.
I nailed it. I knew that. So Troy Aikman didn't win a game his rookie year. They went 1-15. Steve Walsh won that game. Isn't that incredible? And you think what, Mendoza's going to come in here and do what? Go 16-1? I don't know what he's going to do. I hope he wins every game. I hope he's the quarterback, but it could be Dante Moore because we're going to watch the game Friday night. And that'll be great. I didn't get to any of our sound. Clay's got great sound today. We got Rod Woodson coming up. So let me get out of here. Rod Woodson is going to join us coming up next, the Hall of Famer. I always say this. He's a humble guy, so I won't say it to him. I'll say it now. Top 25 player to ever play. Ever. Not top 100, not top 50. Rod's inside the top 25. You can't say that about most Raiders who ever played. You can say that about Rod Woodson. The Hall of Famer will join us next, and Jesse Merrick at the top of the hour. Brought to you by Finley Volvo, Las Vegas, right on the 215.
Gaming is the official exclusive casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
Hey, Chuck, can you?
All right, let me get this set up. Hold on. Gotta give Clay Rod Woodson's number, which means I don't want to give it to you out there. So
any collateral
yeah, just said okay. Here we go.
These loans in less than an hour. Bring along a state-issued ID, a recent pay stub, and a few pieces of mail or a lease to prove where you live. If you're getting your loan online at don'tbebroke.com, you can scan and upload all of your documents easily to our members area.
Sounds easy so far.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Ted Aikman did win a game his rookie year. Isn't that credible? Steve Walsh was a hell of a player too. Steve Walsh was a hell of a player coming out of college.
Get your cash in person at one of our over 70 convenient locations. Apply online.
Everybody behaving here on the chat today. The chat's been very orderly lately. Very orderly. Very orderly.
Hey, it's JT. Grimaldi's is hands down my favorite pizza in Vegas. Only at Grimaldi's can you get their famous New York style coal-fired brick oven pizza. Grimaldi's has 4 locations in the Vegas.
How we doing, everyone?
Classes start at CSN on January 20th, so apply now.
When Rod had that pick six in Denver, yeah, that was great, man. That was an unbelievable play.
Now,
JT for the low eight.
The thing about Rod Woodson's stats, he is the all-time leader in fumble recoveries, all time. Thank you very much, Cole, for that donation. Sad to see Calandria transfer to Nebraska. Yeah, he was a little bit of a wild card for me, a little bit outside the pocket wild card, but I thought they went out and got a good player. Rod Woodson stats. How about this? Super Bowl champ, defensive player of the year. Most career interceptions returned for touchdowns. Most total defensive touchdowns.
Las Vegas Raiders, the JT the Brick Show. Tello Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner-style lager, delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirits. It's actually
here's a nickel card for almost $7,000. Hit big and suck.
Steve's saying, thanks for the job I've done the last 2 years, keeping it under control. Yeah, I don't know if I did that. I mean, the last couple of years have been tough around here, man.
Live on through iconic artifacts. Barrier breaking back.
Okay, I'll put you on hold and come back in 20 seconds.
And so much more. Each piece tells a story of greatness and game-changing moments. Experience the history. Get your tickets now at FountainBlueLasVegas.com.
Australia's biggest sport hits Vegas. Rugby League Las Vegas, Saturday, February 28th at Allegiant Stadium. 3 games, Aussie vibes, 1 epic ticket. Lock in your seat now at NRL.com/Vegas. Rugby League Las Vegas. Let's go.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Local 872, your workforce solution.
Cordell fumbles the snap from center, and the Raiders have it. Rod Woodson, the former Steeler, comes up with it. Cordell lost the handle on the snap.
Yeah, Rod Woodson recovered more fumbles than anyone on the defensive side, forced 20 of them. His interceptions are unbelievable. And I'm happy to work with him every week on his podcast, Laying the Wood. And we recorded one last night, Rod, and it was a lot of fun because, well, I don't know if it was fun, but you knew a lot about the Ravens coaching change, and I knew a lot about the Raiders coaching change. How are you today?
Doing good, brother. How you doing, man? I'm glad you have me on your show, bro. Just just in the end of the year, but next year.
Yes, whenever you want. Yeah, whenever you want. Obviously, with the podcast, I've really been enjoying sitting down with you, and my son's producing it, and we get a chance to chop it up and talk football. And with John Harbaugh, you're in the booth, and the kick goes wide right. You're on the Ravens broadcast. Explain to our audience what you saw from having your great career in Pittsburgh, knowing the weather, and a young rookie lining up for that kick to win the division for the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, they were kicking in the opposite direction of the open end, so it's normally a little bit easier to kick in that direction. Listen, JT, you're a golfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
The little things matter, huh? In golfing, the little things matter tremendously. If you raise your head while you're swinging your club, what's going to happen?
Yeah, push it.
Well, you don't know where your ball's going, right?
Yeah.
And then that really is what Tyler Luke did. He kicked the ball well throughout the whole game. In that last moment, that last kick, if anybody goes back and watches it, as his leg is coming down, his head is going up. It looks like my golf swings at times because I sway, I move, and I'll hit it fat, I'll hit it good, then I'll hit it wide, I'll push it, I'll hook it. And that's what he did. He hit it fat. And he pushed it out. And I mean, as soon as he hit it, it wasn't going in. And I was just like, he missed it. And the fan just went crazy.
Yeah, Rod, and a coach doesn't get fired for a missed kick. As I told you, I had to go back to Marty Schottenheimer, 14-2, bye week loses. The Chargers let him go. When John Harbaugh got relieved, you were surprised by that, and you worked for the organization on the radio side, but there was probably a little bit more to that, right, when it comes to coaches and loyalty on why John Harbaugh and the Ravens decided to part ways.
Yeah, listen, John is very loyal. First of all, let's say John had a tremendous career coaching for the Ravens, done a tremendous job over his time frame of being the coach for the Ravens. And, you know, he's loyal. And, they wanted him to move on from one of his coaches. He didn't want to. And unfortunately, in that episode or in that instance, the owner, Steve Buscemi, is going to win on that one. And Steve made the decision to go in a different direction. They've only had 3 coaches in the history of the Ravens. So it's going to be a little different in the building. It's going to be a little different on the sidelines. It's going to be a little different in the meeting rooms. It's going to be different at Owing Mills Way, where the facility's at, for a while, because John has been there for such a long time, and he's been a staple, and he kind of built a culture up in that area and up in that team, kind of taken away from what Brian Billick did the time frame that he was there.
Rod Woodson is our guest, the Hall of Famer. So, John, you would think would be perfect for everybody. We found out today that the Dolphins let go of Mike McDaniel. It seems like the Giants want to be a front runner, but you've been talking to me, and we did it on the podcast last night about how Cleveland, with the Harbaugh background there and the division, possibly that could be a fit for John Harbaugh.
It could be a fit. I found out, I believe there's a connection. I believe there's a Michigan connection with Miami.
Mm-hmm. Stephen Ross, the owner, yes.
Yeah, so that being said, with Jimmy being there and them having some love for the, being in Ann Arbor, that could be one of those things. I said it yesterday. I said, listen, they're from the area, the Ohio, that up in the area, Cleveland area. They're from that area. I wouldn't be surprised, but then I wouldn't be surprised if every team would want it, because multiple teams need to rebuild their culture. And the one thing that John has done tremendously well is that he has built a culture, and he's built it around family. He doesn't have a big family, obviously, but he's from a football background. We know Jimmy, who Jimmy is as the ex-player, but John pumped out a really good career for himself, being a coach, starting with Philly, and then finishing as the head coach in Baltimore. And can this be a 2.0 of Andy Reid, where Andy Reid leaves Philly and then goes to Kansas City and wins, and history is written? Could that happen? I think it absolutely can happen. But I think the one difference is, JT, is that most of these coaches are going to go in and get interviewed, and John's going to go in and do the interviewing, because he's going to ask the questions, and if it doesn't fit his philosophy, it doesn't fit what makes him comfortable, he doesn't need to take it. He can go to the next one.
Rod Woodson joins us. So there's a culture change that needs to happen here in Las Vegas. You're a former Raider coach. John Spytek and Tom Brady, clearly Michigan men. So you would think that an interview would hopefully be something here, possibly. But it didn't work with Pete Carroll, Rod. You and I sit down every week, and Pete Carroll is a hell of a football coach. And taking a look at the Raiders and what happened this year with all those losses, the quarterback play of Geno Smith, Ashton Genty did better than most people thought, considering how often he was hit. And then Max Crosby just had surgery yesterday. They're trying to get Max right. Give us your bird's eye view of the Raiders and what you think went wrong.
First of all, where are these Michigan people getting all this money buying teams? What's going on in Michigan, man? I mean,
it didn't happen at Purdue and Fort Wayne. Like everyone's not a billionaire.
It keeps working out. I mean, so, obviously, but no, with that being serious, I've been Raider fans on the night. I only played a couple years for the Raiders, coached a couple years for the Raiders. But my life started playing football when I was 9 years old, and I played for the Power Raiders. So I've always loved the Raiders. Would I love to see John Harbaugh come and change the culture in this building? And one of the best looking, if not the best looking stadium in all of football in the NFL. Would I love to see that? Yes, I would love to see that. Would I think he would take that on? I don't think he will, because he's going to ask the questions, right? Who's your quarterback? How much cap room do you have? And first two questions aren't really good, right? And even though I love Geno Smith, I just don't think you want to start out with an older quarterback. I think he will try to find somebody like, or I mean, he did have an older guy when he first got to Baltimore with Flacco, and the young Lamar. You know, yes, you got Ants, you got a really good running game. I just don't think it'd be the spot for him. I think he's going to ask a lot of questions, and I think the biggest thing is going to be, who's my quarterback and how much cap room do I have? And the teams that have that's very attractive to him, those are the teams that are going to be, I think, at his forefront.
Yeah, Raiders have a lot of cap room, but they don't have the quarterback yet. We're going to see two quarterbacks play coming up here on Friday night, Mendoza versus Moore. And on that front, with the Raiders having the number one pick overall, you've been around a long time and as a Hall of Famer, do you think, we just, before you came on, we talked about Troy Aikman didn't win his first year. They went 1-15. Steve Walsh won the game. Peyton Manning was brutal his rookie year, all-time interception record. So getting that first pick could be tough. When you're sitting up on the stage in Canton at the Hall of Fame and everyone's giving their speech, not everyone's a number one pick overall, Rod, but now the Raiders have the number one pick. I'm not going to hold you to this, but I would think take the quarterback and live with the quarterback, or are you a believer over the years trade out of that pick because you're going to get so much leverage and so many other picks in return?
It really depends on your evaluation of the quarterback or that player, right? If he's so high and you just have to have him, you got to take him. And if you think if another quarterback is not going to come next year, the following year, that has that type of value, then you have to take him. At the end of the day, we know in this league, you have to have a quarterback and you have to have rushers, right? You got to have quarterbacks, you got to have edge rushers in the National Football League today to have somewhat of a good team, and they're in a great position. Does John Harbaugh want to draft a young quarterback and then wait, hopefully 3 or 4 years to get him going, or 2 years, whatever it might be, and to get him going where he's playing at a high level? Especially for a coach who's been through the rigors like John, that's a good one. But what I do like is that they got a great opportunity to set the table for their future come this year. Talking about the Raiders in the draft, and it's going to be really interesting to see what direction they go.
Hey, Rod, as we wrap it up, you said something really poignant to me yesterday. I asked you about what was the difference when the playoffs began for you and the teams you played on. Share with everybody else what you told me about how you played at such a high level during the year, and then the playoffs come around, and how that is different to what most fans think about turning up the notch as soon as you get to the playoffs.
And your players say it quite often that we got to pick it up a notch. Well, if you're picking it up a notch, did you play all out the whole season? You didn't. If I'm playing at 100%, I can't play at 102. At 101, I can't. I can play at 100%. I'm going to give you that every single snap, every single down, every single time I step on the field for you. And as a collective unit, if you got all your players playing at 100% or giving you 100% effort every single down, every single game, you can't play any faster in the postseason. So, that statement, I think, is kind of crazy, but I would say this. The moments are bigger. Those are bigger because you win, you keep moving, you lose, you go home. And I think that puts more pressure on you. And maybe that's what they're talking about more so than physically doing it, but then more mentally being there on point, because you can't have an off day, right? If you have an off day in the postseason, you're going fishing, right? So I just think, to think that you're going to play at a higher level in the postseason, because you didn't do it during the regular season. I think it's crazy mindset, but then a crazy saying that all players kind of say throughout the years, right? And to me, it would be the question is, you ain't been playing hard the whole year? Yeah. What you been doing? You're getting, and nowadays they getting huge paychecks, JT.
Yeah.
Not little ones, I mean, not good ones, but huge paychecks to go out there and bust their humps just for 60 minutes of football. And I'm pretty sure the really, really good ones, they do it. The ones who are just kind of average and they want to stay average, they'll have some good plays and they'll have some bad plays.
What are you going to do now? You live in Vegas. You travel with the Ravens. The Ravens get beat. I know how big of a football savant you are, a junkie. What are you going to do here the next couple of weeks? Because I thought the Ravens were a Super Bowl contender, and you had that plan through a run through Santa Clara. We know we'll do stuff together at the Super Bowl and on Radio Row, but this is different for you because the Ravens have been so good the last couple of years. Still a good team.
I know. So I'm like, the great thing is, and the craziest thing is that, starting another business, Hall of Fame Scouting Academy. So that's going to keep me a little bit busy trying to get that thing moving in the right direction this year in 2026. So that'll be fun. But this week, man, it's been so nice not to do nothing. I mean, it's for 2 days, Jason, I have I've gotten up early like I normally do because my wife gets up at 5 o'clock. But I got up early and I just sat on the couch. I kind of drink me a little water because I'm not a coffee drinker. And I just sit there and said, it's the way to do nothing.
I know you're going to be doing something probably later on today after your workouts and your family pickups and everything and all your other responsibilities with your great family. Rod, pleasure. I'll sit down with you next week. Lay in the Wood podcast. I want all of our audience, everybody who's on YouTube with us now, everyone on Raider Nation Radio, Lay in the Wood with Rod Woodson, where you get your podcast. I'll see you after the weekend, Rod. Thanks for doing this.
All right, yeah, thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
You got it. Rod Woodson, man, a guy I'm really starting to get to know well. And he's done a tremendous amount for my son. My son works with him, and he's just a guiding figure to my son on top of a friend to me. I was going through Rod's stats. Eric Allen got in the Hall of Fame. He had 54 interceptions. Rod had 71. Let that sink in. Rod's second to last year with the Raiders was 2002. That's the year we went to the Super Bowl. Rod had 8 interceptions. 8. How many interceptions, Clay, did the Raiders have as a team this year? I hate to put you on the spot. Google, someone in the chat. Rod Woodson in 2002 had 8 interceptions for the Raiders. And we can't put our hands on the ball. I think Caillou Blue Kelly, led the team with 3? 3.
Yeah.
Rod had 8. That's Rod Woodson. So I think when I say this, he's one of the top 25 players to ever live because he's the all-time fumble recovery king, 71 interceptions, and he played on what many say is the greatest defense of all time, his Ravens team. And he's known as one of the top 5 Steelers of all time, including Terry Bradshaw and Mean Joe Green. Oh, my God. I mean, what the guy did was incredible. And he was a Raider coach under Jack Del Rio. He was a coach here for a while. Coached the Vipers here in town. The Vipers, who played outside here in town. Rod's a good guy. Hope you enjoyed that. If you could all do us a favor, please subscribe to our podcast, Lay in the Wood. It'll take you 5 seconds. You'll be throwing Rod a bone, and that'd be nice to do. Jesse Merrick joins us at the top of the hour as we're brought to you by Woodson Bourbon Whiskey. Man, that was good. Rod's really good, man. Yeah.
By starting 2026 off right with Clean Start Checklist for your home. From carpets to couches,
You're next. Stay right there,
easy
please.
to tackle those cleaning resolutions and giving your
Okay,
home
Neil.
that reset it
You
deserves.
get the calls right after the break. Stay right there, please. You're number 2.
Zero res, done.
Let's get the calls going. All right.
Really quickly. And
Kenny Clark, what's happening? Snow Raider. Big D.
the carpet fibers reach their normal shape. My home smells great and nobody is exposed to chemicals. So
Yeah.
mention the Clean Maker special, save $57. And
Plus, you receive free tile cleaning of up to 100 square feet. Call 702-840-3333. And ZeroResLasVegas.com. Spelled the same forward or backward, Zero Res is the right way to clean. Minimums apply. Gary Lawless here with Boomer Sportsbook, and we're giving you a chance to be at the big game. Win 2 tickets to the big game in San Fran, plus round-trip flights and a hotel stay, all on us. Earn 1 entry every day when you place $26 in bets now through January 25th. New customers score 5 bonus entries with their first deposit. Download Boomer's mobile app and stop by Ellis Island Casino, Casino Valley Verde, or Ojos Locos Casino to activate your account. Get all the details at betwithboomer.com. 21 terms and conditions apply. Bet responsibly. Centennial Subaru is celebrating 3 years of savings, and you got to see what everyone is talking about. Seriously, this place is different. Located in Ann and the 95, Centennial Subaru has built its reputation on real savings and outstanding customer service. That's why we're the fastest growing Subaru store in Southern Nevada. Stop in today and experience Centennial Subaru, where great deals and great people come together.
Eat Lounge in Resorts World Las Vegas. Luxury at its finest, with plush seating, an upscale vibe, and an extensive collection of the greatest whiskeys and spirits. Eat Lounge is the perfect spot for taking in the game with your favorite cigar. You can bring your own sticks, or step into Eight's Humidor with over 250 of the best cigars around the world to choose from. And tickets for the big game viewing party are on sale now. Reserve your spot at 8loungelv.com.
Grimaldi's is hands down my favorite pizza in Vegas. Only at Grimaldi's can you get a famous New York style coal-fired Cordova pizza. Grimaldi's has 4 locations in the Vegas Valley, or check them out online at Grimaldi'sPizzeria.com.
Australia's biggest sport hits Vegas. Rugby League Las Vegas, Saturday, February 28th at Allegiant Stadium. 3 games, Aussie vibes, 1 epic.
Minnesota, Pittsburgh, really?
St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
They were like the 3rd in line in Pittsburgh.
Welcome back
Got
to
it.
the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by M
Brian
Resort
and LA.
Spa and Casino, the official hotel of the Las Vegas Raiders.
JT back with you as we continue on here, brought to you by La Casa Cigars and Lounge at Tivoli Village. I lived there over the holidays. I was there 4 or 5 times with Cisco, Thor, Mike, and Sandy. Own a beautiful cigar lounge at Tivoli Village, and it is expanding, growing. I got my locker for my sticks. Go check it out. It's the best cigar lounge you could go to, Tivoli Village, La Casa. Brian from Los Angeles. How are you, Brian? What's happening?
Called a few times, but what's going on, JT? I've called a few times. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
I got a couple quick takes for you.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this year, Kubiak is last year's Ben Johnson. We got to get this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fancy. I like a couple of these other guys. I'm a realist. We're not getting John Harbaugh. He's not coming to Vegas. It's okay, though. We can go young just like we did back with Gruden in the late 90s. We can go young and get some energy in that building and go about it that way. We have to get a quarterback regardless. I know I hear all the trade ideas. Trade back, get more picks. We got $115 million. We can fill up some holes with free agency money. We can do that. We can fix the O-line. I think the O-line is far from being fixed. You put Charles Grant at right tackle. You put TJ Glaze at guard where he should have been this whole year. You put JPJ back at center. You put Caleb Rogers at left guard. You got Colton. I don't think the O-line is far off from being.
No, the O-line. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I disagree. The O-line is a disaster. It's a disaster. It's not close to being fixed unless you get 2 brand new starters in free agency, not the draft. I don't want to hear about the draft. We can't do. We're going to get an offensive lineman in the draft, no doubt. We need 2 starters like the Bears got. The offensive line's a disaster. It has to be completely refixed. Blow it up and fix the entire offensive line. Please continue.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. JPG got to go back to center, but Charles Grant looks like he could be an elite right tackle just by watching his tape, what he's given us so far. Great movement, great strength. We got to get I like the fancy interview. I truly do. I like some of these coaches. But we got to go all in for Clint Kubiak the way they were all in last year for Ben Johnson, because that number one pick is the shiny trophy that a good offensive-minded coach wants to have coming into, his first head coaching in the NFL.
Right.
That number one pick can get Kubiak to come over and say, okay, now I get to draft the quarterback I want, develop him, and we'll be fine.
Okay.
I'm not saying we're gonna be Super Bowl contenders overnight. But it starts right here, right now, with the right coach. I really believe Kubiak could be that guy.
I agree with you 100%. He would be my front runner, but if someone like John Harbaugh was actually in play, that would be my front runner. But you better believe it with Clint Kubiak. Listen to this: 2019 to the 2020 Vikings quarterback coach. 21, Vikings offensive coordinator. 2022, Denver Broncos quarterback coach, pass game coordinator. Here's the big one. 2023, San Francisco 49ers pass game coordinator under Kyle Shanahan. Offensive coordinator for the Saints in 2024. Then he goes to the Seahawks. Have you seen the Seahawks with Sam Darnold in that running game? You see the Seahawks running game, run it down the throat of the Niners? He's currently the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. He checks every box. Now it's a question of, is he your number one choice or not? As the caller just said, Ben Johnson, we don't know exactly what choice he was. It didn't seem like he was interested at the level we were. So when you look at that, Kubiak could be my choice, but he might be your third. I know people in this building that like Kevin Stefanski more than Kubiak. But I just love the fact that Kubiak worked for offensive head coaches who are really, really good. And that's what I think they need around here. Jesse Merrick is going to join us coming up next. Great contributor. Looking forward to our conversation.
Birthdays to business meetings, or just because. Crazy.
All right, let's hang out, chat. Let's hang out in the chat with 473 people. Nice number. All right, everybody hit subscribe, please. Everybody hit like. My son reminds me, a lot of people are in here every day. They don't hit the buttons. They kind of pop in, but they don't hit the buttons. Some blue diamond almonds, trying to be a little cleaner in the new year.
He's got 15 games in there. I like what he's doing. Hey, stay right there, man.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
So JPJ wasn't at center for a reason. I'd put him back at center. I'd let him compete for center.
Responsibly. GT the Brick from Raider Nation Radio for Emrod.
Thank you for clicking it. Thanks for hitting the clicks. I'm all right with Stefanski. I don't think Stefanski getting fired by Cleveland should be the number one choice as a head coach here. Getting fired from Cleveland, but it depends on how much he's going to blow away the interview. He might blow away the interview and be unbelievable. I don't know. JPJ is a dog. I agree. He's a tough guy.
With hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds.
Yeah, let's take a couple before Jesse.
Another session to deal with some other problems, and I lost another 10 pounds.
Thoughts on Webb? I don't know anything about Webb other than his bio, and he's highly considered a future up-and-coming offensive coordinator with the Broncos.
It's changed my life. Except maybe my husband. He's so proud of me. Makes me cry.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, what are you waiting for? Join Mark Patrick Hypnosis and lose the weight or stop smoking, or your money back, only $59.99. That's right. Weight loss hypnosis, Saturday, January 10th at the Santa Fe Station Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas at 11 a.m. Registration at 10:30. Stop smoking hypnosis at 2 p.m. with registration at 1:30. Okay. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Zimstab Auto has expanded into one of the largest independent auto repair shops in the valley. 23 bays, over 12,000 square feet. Zimstab is your one.
You think the Raiders might find a Rod Woodson type of player in the draft? No, because Rod Woodson's one of the top 20 players ever, so I'd say no.
No appointment necessary. Zimstab Auto, over 24 hours a day at Cheyenne.
I think from talking to Rod, I don't know this to be 100%, But John Harbaugh didn't want to fire the OC, so that's why he got let go.
Right. Scoop the ice. Plus, kids 21, please drink responsibly.
Las Vegas. This is not your average sports bar. She and ceviche, food made from scratch. Easy 24 different beers on draft, and it's family friendly. So bring the kids. Located at the Uncommons near Durango and the 215. Find them online at GeneralAdmissionLV.com.
Your Raiders Phoenix with your boy Cam on Unnecessary Roughness on 2 to 5 on Raider Nation Radio.
Oh, yeah, we're back. Hour number 2. I got us right here. Look on my phone. I'm showing everybody on our YouTube feed, and I'm sharing it. You can watch the show live. You can see what we do here every day. And it's pretty cool. We got some new announcements, some giveaways. I got a good giveaway story that I got to tell you here in a little bit, but I have a clock in my head. I don't like to tell stories when we have a guest on hold in a minute. Jesse Merrick will join us momentarily. He's a really good insider for the Raiders, and we're going to talk to him a lot more coming up. He's very good at what he does here. Let's get back to the phones here because people have been waiting. We don't want you to wait. If you call me, I used to be a caller. I want you to be able to get up quickly, 702-365-9200. Here's Neil from Fremont, California. Fremont in the house.
Yep. To have Rod there, man. I remember that 98-yard pick six like it was yesterday. That was great. And shout out to your show. I really want to give you a lot of credit, seriously, because you have been loyal to Raider Nation, have been the face of this franchise, at least from a Raider Nation and media standpoint. So really appreciate you. Let's get back to that Raiders Cardinals game. When we played the playoff in San Diego and we have that charisma, that passion, like I think getting our franchise quarterback to make a big difference. I want to talk about coaching because the previous caller talked a lot about Kubiak, which I love Kubiak, right? But he has ties to Atlanta. Harbaugh has ties to Miami. If I want to,
Yeah, which I'm hoping you got a color right now, my technical color.
my strong
His
opinion,
name for Fremont, he was just praising you. Where you got on there. So let me.
I had a call
There, please.
in the AFC. Who's the top 3 teams, right? Dominated against the Broncos, play calling head coach.
Yeah.
I think it's very important we focus on that personally. So would love to get your take on where you think to go head coach to be experience, or do we say, all right, it's time to bring our next charismatic guru that we call plays?
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for listening. That's a perfect question to ask Jesse Merrick, who joins us. What a great job he does as a sports contributor and does a great job with the Raiders, Silver and Black Sports Network. Jesse, I'm a Kubiak guy. The caller was a Kubiak guy. The caller before was because they want an offensive young play caller. As you are analyzing this coaching carousel, let's begin with what you think the Raiders need from a head coach going forward.
Yeah, hey JT, thanks for having me on, man. I agree. I think that you need to go offensive, and look, there are plenty of teams around the league when you look around, especially in recent years, that have done it with a defensive-minded head coach. But if you hit on your offensive coordinator in that scenario, you're constantly replacing that OC because he ends up going and taking another job. So I think you shield yourself a bit from having to play that constant turnover game. If you bring in a young offensive-minded coach that can hang around for quite a while and really develop, especially with the situation the Raiders are in, but develop a quarterback at the top of the draft here. So I lean offensive for sure. There's not as many, this isn't a deep pool for the offensive-minded guys. But I do think Kubiak is a really interesting, guy in that coaching cycle. I've been high on him for a bit here. And, look, obviously he comes from the pedigree of his dad. He's got that whole background and everything, but he's also rubbed elbows with a lot of really bright offensive minds over the years. And look what he's done up there in Seattle with Sam Darnold as well. He's top 5 in the league in passing. They run the ball a lot. I believe it's the 4th highest clip in the league that they do run it. And I think they have the 11th ranked rushing attack overall. So solid numbers for what he's been able to do out there in a season with a Sam Darnold, where if you go back and look at it in the offseason, had Sam Darnold side with the Raiders, a lot of people probably have been shouting and not for the right reason. So look what he's done with him and that group up there. I think that's a really impressive job for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the people that he's worked with recently, all the way back to Minnesota, to the Niners, to what he's been able to do these last couple of stops, Denver, his dad. All of that checks the boxes for me, but it has to do with the structure. So the people that I talk to around the league realize that the Raiders are trying to figure out a structure in place that's a little bit different than the old Mark Davis structure. This is going to be more heavy Brady and Spytek. You were at the press conference. You were there. John Spytek answered every question about Tom Brady and the structure. What was your takeaway on how they're going to try to do it differently this time?
Yeah, I think for so long, Raiders fans have just wanted to know, like, in charge. Where does the buck stop? And I walked away from that press conference feeling like it was Spytek is where the buck stops for him, And I know that there's so many conversations and so many questions asked about Brady's involvement and how involved he is. But the thing that struck me is he said he calls Brady about every big decision. But the way I interpreted kind of everything he said wholesale is that even if they disagree, like at the end of the day, Spytek, the GM, he's the guy that's going to call on it. Brady is just a nice confidant and advisor for him in that process. So I walked away feeling like, okay, hey, look, now there is a clear hierarchy out there. It is Spytek and Brady right behind him in terms of the decision-making process. And I think, too, though, like, we're all going to get that answer for sure once this coaching cycle is over. I mean, we'll be able to tell more likely than not who really had the bigger say in the coaching hire based off of that person's background or the style and things like that. So I think a lot even more will be revealed. But at this moment right now, I would say that Spytek is probably the tip of the spear with Brady very close behind him and still heavily involved.
Yeah, Jesse Merrick is our guest. That's very interesting to me because that new structure or that existing structure is not perfect for everyone. John Harbaugh might want to have complete control, right? He might not want to answer to a young GM. We don't know. A guy like Kevin Stefanski or Clint Kubiak could be fine with that because they just want to coach. They don't want to sit there and pick groceries and all that. What do you think is the strength of the Raiders now? Is it that Brady Spytek connection, or is the bigger pull for a new coach the number one pick overall? Because if the Raiders go quarterback, it could take a while to get that quarterback groomed to start winning games. It could be a 2-3 year process, and a lot of coaches don't trust a 2-3 year process. Even if they agree to it, they don't trust it.
Yeah, I would say whoever does take this job, even though they may agree to it, they have to live it and own it and know that this is going to take some time. But to me, the thing that makes the most sense or the most attractive thing about this job is the number one overall pick and over $100 million in cap space. That's third in the league right now. A lot of teams, there are a couple teams out there that have similar cap space, obviously, that are looking for coaches. But to pair the first pick overall with that kind of cap space, that's super attractive, especially for a young offensive guy if they happen to like Fernando Mendoza, or let's see what happens with Dante Moore. Between those two quarterbacks, sounds like those are the top two guys when it's all said and done. You get to come in as an offensive-minded coach, handpick your quarterback of the future, and then you have $100 million to help build around him, particularly to fix that offensive line. And we have seen teams over the years be able to turn an offensive line around fairly quickly. Even though we know this team is more than just an offensive line and a quarterback away, that would go a long way for fixing some of the issues with this team. I think we can all agree if their offensive line was even league average, that gives them a couple more wins this year. So that, I think, is something that could give fans some hope that even though it's going to take a while to be like a real playoff contender, real progress isn't that far away in terms of not being a team that's picking at the top of the draft anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything you're saying. This is great. From Jesse Merrick, who's kind enough to join us. The offensive line has to be rebuilt, not developed. It just can't. It can't be developed if you're going to have a prize rookie that could get injured if you don't put him behind a good offensive line. And they got the cap space to do it. So you got to find star offensive linemen. Not that Alex Kappa can't play. He's not a star. You got to go find someone who's a Pro Bowler. But other teams don't want to get rid of Pro Bowlers. So I only think the way you can do it, Jesse, is you got to overpay for at least one great offensive lineman and then hope to get another one at market rate where you don't have to overpay for them, and that you can convince that offensive lineman to come to Vegas because of all the perks, the organization, the history, no state taxes and all that. But would you agree with me with Colt Miller, JPJ, if you get 2 starters via free agency, then you're really right there.
Yeah, that'd be massive. I mean, you and I are locked and step on the same page with a lot of the things going on today. And I think with that, with fixing the O-line, I think the key would be to go ahead and invest in free agency, bring 2 guys in, and then invest some more draft capital in an offensive lineman within the first, within the second or third rounds, I would say. Try and find somebody there. And we've seen the Raiders do that in recent years, obviously with JPJ, and they've drafted some other guys in the 3rd round as well and things like that. But it's that constant turnover where you just have a new coach, new GM coming in each and every year. Tom Telesco said it when he came in as a GM. You're drafting for 3 different head coaches in 3 years. Now that cycle's continued, and offensive line is a developmental position, at least with the young guys. So try and invest in a young dude in the draft, and then, like you said, chase 2 big-ticket guys along the offensive line. And I really do think things can turn up front in a big way for them. And that would make life so much easier on a rookie quarterback coming in. Yes, there's still going to be some growing pains, but man, if you can give a kid like a Fernando Mendoza time, whose game is sitting there diagnosing and putting the ball in the right spot, if he doesn't have to think about getting blasted each and every play, like that is going to be a total game changer for someone like him. And again, I don't think it's totally outlandish to do that. Like that, we're not selling fans a pipe dream. That is something that can be done. You're telling me as a GM, you can't go find 2 good offensive linemen on the open market? If that's the case, you probably shouldn't be here.
Jesse Merrick, as we wrap it up. So we got a really big issue coming up Friday, Mendoza versus Moore. Now, just covering, I cover the NFL more than college football, but I'm watching college football and these guys play. I didn't watch them play more than 2 or 3 games each, and I've seen all their major marquee highlights. So what happens if Moore blows away Mendoza? Let's just say he throws for 3 touchdowns. Mendoza throws a pick 6. Anything could happen. As a matter of fact, Oregon's got better players than Indiana. Indiana's winning. The 5 stars were going to Alabama and Oregon, not Indiana. They were taking transfers from James Madison. Signetti's been great. The quarterback's been unbelievable. But in your mind, covering this team, what do you think's at stake Friday night in the semifinal here? Because Raider Nation's going to gravitate to whoever plays better.
Yeah, and look, I mean, not to be a prisoner of the moment, but like this is a time where you really do deal with these guys on the field. So yes, a lot can change from game to game, just simply because like, this is as close as you're going to see to these guys playing against NFL type talent, And the thing that stands out to me, and you alluded to it, with Indiana, they have 1 former top 100 recruit in their starting lineup. Each and every time they go up against another team in the playoff here, they are outnumbered in that regard by a lot. I believe Alabama had 14 of them in their starting lineup. I think Ohio State had either 11 or 14 when they had played them during the season. And I don't know what the number is for Oregon, but you can be damn sure it's much more than 1, So, like, I think, and I look at Fernando Mendoza, he has done more with less out there each and every time. And I go back to the previous games, that they played in the playoff there, and that's a quality defense they were going against in Alabama. And the receivers did a great job of creating room. So Mendoza didn't have as many of those like, wow, oh my God, types of those throws, but he delivered the ball where it needed to go. And that is something that cannot be overlooked. Because at the end of the day, like being a good quarterback is about making good decisions. If he did that, what I need to see from Dante Moore in this one is take advantage of the opportunities when they're there. I think he checked it down a lot, which there's nothing wrong with that, but there were some missed opportunities over the top. And so if he comes out, like you said, and lights it up, that could be a performance where it's like, hey, we don't know. It's probably like a 50-50. He goes back or stays. So I think this game does make a huge difference. If he wins this one and they're playing for the national championship and it's because Dante Moore led them there, I mean, his stock is going to be at an all-time high, and the world's going to be on fire about it, especially when you already have people talk about that he's got the best tools and the higher ceiling of anybody else in this draft. So I'm going to be watching this one with bated breath to see exactly how this pans out. It's going to be a fun one, and it's rare you get to see 2 dudes like this that have a chance of both going number 1 facing off in the playoff. It's going to be fun.
As a broadcaster and reporter, what did you learn from covering Pete Carroll, a legendary coach and class act, even though it didn't work?
Yeah, and I say this many times, not to make this about me, but like I'm a kid that grew up in Southern California and rooted for SC as a kid. And so there was nobody else out there that wanted that to work more than me just because of the history and the legacy that he had. sometimes it doesn't quite work out. And so I think, honestly, the thing that I walked away most with Pete is that, like, it just, and I mean this with all due respect, but it looked like he didn't learn anything from his time away. The big thing that came about from all that is that he had said that he had learned some things coming away from it and all that, and it just seemed like he tried to force, a square, or what is it, a circle into a square peg or whatever it is, by just leaning on what's worked for him. And it worked so well in the past, but I don't think he adapted enough. And we started to see towards the tail end of the year where it looked like he gave a little bit more leash to the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinators. And that's something that I would have liked to seen earlier. So just more adaptability rather than kind of leaning on what had worked in the past and not necessarily looking at what's working now and what that next step is. And again, that just now leads me to right now where the Raiders are going is they need somebody in there that is an innovator, whether it's an offensive guy or a defensive guy, whatever the heck that ends up being. It needs to be something that is on the cutting edge, someone that's willing to take those chances and do something new that could possibly take the league by storm and help them get ahead of the curve faster.
All right. After you left News 3, I think what you've done is tremendous here, building your own platform. It's your own business here. And you got to be pretty excited about the most interesting offseason. I just finished year 28 for me. Going into this year, this is clearly, and I'm saying it just from my perspective, the most important offseason since 1960 or 1963, before we were born, when Al Davis came in. That's how much is at stake, and you get to cover it. How excited are you?
Awesome, man. Look, I mean, it's a crazy year to launch a new brand, given a season like they had. But like you said, right now, like the curiosity and the excitement is at an all-time high because of that top overall pick. And it's been an exciting ride. Like I can't thank you enough for bringing me on, giving me this platform to talk about the brand, because it's awesome. And Raider Nation has been behind it in a big way. We just passed 1 million views on YouTube a couple months ago. From 0 views in training camp to over 1 million now. Like the growth has been insane, and I can't wait to see what the future holds with the Raiders holding the first pick. And again, all the curiosity around this team. It's been a wild ride, and I'm excited for what the future holds.
Continued success, Jesse. I'll see you out at the building or somewhere around town. Thanks for doing this.
Definitely. Thanks, JT. Have a good one.
You got it, Jesse Merrick. Really good. Watched him before. He was on the news, but like Vince is on the news. Vince does radio. I came to Vince years ago. He was my intern at Fox, said, you need to be on the radio. Now Vince is hosting a morning show with Clay and Vinny. Jesse went out on his own. And again, not making it about everyone, but when something happens in your life and a door closes, a bigger one opens. At times you just don't notice it. I've been doing this 30 years. I was pretty consistent. I was lucky the whole time. I had 1 or 2 platforms the whole time, the Raiders and Fox or Sports Fan. I had 20, 30 years with 2 jobs that never changed. But when a job changes for a young broadcaster like Jesse Merrick and says, I'm going to do this on my own. I could do it better on my own. God, I pull for guys like that every day. And that's what I've been about. I've been trying to help people get to the next level if I can, any way I can, because so many people helped me when I started. And I needed help, man. I didn't know what I was doing. I started trying to do this. And what's happening now in this platform that we're all in, I know I'm going off the reservation for a bit, but I tell, and I'm online, I'm on podcast, and I talk to and I try to mentor as many people as I can who get in the business. If you can't sell yourself, you're not going to make it. Doesn't matter how talented you are. Doesn't matter. You have to be able to take your brand to advertisers and generate money. And that didn't happen back in the day. When I started in the business, all you had to do is get on the radio, and they give you 150 grand for doing overnights. You'd be like, wait a second, you give me 150 grand to do overnights? That's the way it was 25 years ago. Not anymore. No. You got to be able to generate income if you want to be on television or radio. And what's weird about it now, too, it's even a little bit crazier, is a lot of these shows are putting on far too many people. So you're seeing 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people on a show. And what it does is it devalues everybody's price. The star makes all the money. The other guys are just on camera thinking they're making money. No, they're just devaluing themselves because they won't go out on their own. They can't go out on their own, so they're just going to sit around and be made fun of. It's a crazy business we're in right now. And Jesse is doing it the right way, very professionally with his brand and everything that he's doing there. 702-365-9200 when you want to get in. So I'm open the rest of the way. I kept the show open the rest of the way to the top of the hour. So if you want to call in, especially the bricklayers there, those who are watching us, I'm going to sign off here on the stream. If you want to jump in on the show, 702-365-9200. The topic is pretty much going to remain the same until they announce a head coach. And Clay and I, we were talking as we started off the show, we have no idea. Matter of fact, Clay, we should bet a lunch over this because I don't gamble, but we should bet a lunch on the announcement of the head coach because I think Super Bowl's too late.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think Super Bowl means you waited too long. And you said before the AFC Championship game?
Yeah, I would have to think before that Sunday hits, Championship Sunday. I
would agree with you. Just a question, would it be on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
That's where the lunch is.
That's where the lunch is. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. So call into the show and tell me who you think the coach is going to be, because we need your help on this one, because no one knows. Because no one is sitting outside Tom Brady's office, and we don't know where Tom Brady's office is right now. It might be at Fox. He might be at Fox looking at film, breaking down the game he's going to be calling. I don't know. It might be in Miami. It might be at the Raider facility today with Kevin Stefanski. I don't know. But we want to know what you think, because we think you have strong opinions. 702-365-9200. As of today, and we're going to have fun with this the next week, as of today, I like Clint Kubiak. Okay? Everyone okay? You're not going to break the internet? You're not going to throw things at me? You don't have to DM me. I'm not doing DMs anymore. Did you get that? Did you catch that one? But today it's Clint Kubiak. But if they have a press conference Wednesday and it's John Harbaugh, I'm going to shave, because I don't shave any. I'm going to shave and run down there. Hopefully get an interview if it's John Harbaugh. Who could it be? Who could it be? Who could it be? It better be someone good. It better be someone who's going to lead the nation, the Raider Nation, back to greatness. That's what it has to be. So coming up on the other side, we'll hear from you. Get your opinions on this. We're brought to you by the DeCastaverde Law Group. Alex and Orlando DeCastaverde. All these billboards and commercials. Guys with tank tops on motorcycles. Guys punching through glass. What are you doing? Brothers Win. BrothersWin.com. You want 2 for 1. Orlando and Alex DeCastaverde and the legacy of their proud father, the DeCastaverde Law Group. Thank you, everybody. Let's see if any of the bricklayers will call in now. I got a half hour to go. See if any of the bricklayers will call in. 702-365-9200. See if we can get a bricklayer in here, man. Have a great day. No late night radio show tonight. I'm chilling, man. I'm watching college football.